What if I told you there's a place where your retirement dollars stretch further? The tax man takes a back seat and you're surrounded by natural beauty, music, and world-class medical care. Welcome to Tennessee, one of the most underrated retirement gems in America. In today's video, we're diving into why Tennessee might be the smartest place to retire in 2025. And it's not just about country music and barbecue. We're talking no income tax, affordable living, and healthcare options that rival big coastal cities. Stick around because near the end of this video, I'm gonna share a story of one couple who moved from California to Tennessee and cut their living expenses by nearly 50%. You'll wanna hear what they didn't expect. Let's jump in. I wanna show you a couple different articles, and then I'm actually going to show you an entirely built out retirement plan that proves that you can actually retire at age 60 with only $1 million saved in Tennessee. Let's jump in. First things first, this is a fascinating article. If you live in California, where I used to live, good place to be from, by the way, this is saying, this comes from KTLA 5, they're saying that a retiree in California would need $90,000 annually to live comfortably during retirement. Now, this article, this is from SoFi, they do a lot of lending and financial stuff. They're saying that the average cost of living in Tennessee is only $42,469 per year, which is like half. The question is actually, can it work and do the numbers pencil out? Well, let's dive in and look at a before and after retirement plan that we put together here at our firm. So first things first, this is one of our retirement programs, and Bob and Betty Smith are officially retiring. They're hanging up the hat. They worked in California. They've had enough. They want to potentially go to Tennessee. And by the way, there's many people from California, Chicago, New York, New Jersey, all over that are moving to Tennessee because it's a lovely state. The question is can they afford it? So they're both retired, which is what we see right here. Now we go down to Social Security benefits. Now I'm going to take a quick pause. You're going to learn something right now when it comes to Social Security. In my first and third movie, we have two different experts that talk about Social Security being reduced in the 2030s, one of which used to run Social Security, David Walker, the other of which, Olivia Mitchell. All the Nobel-winning economists and PhD experts point to her as the expert of experts. What's fascinating is they both are in agreement that because of our demographic problem here in our country, we don't have enough taxpayers to cover the Social Security Trust Fund. One thinks it's going to happen in 2030, and it's a 25% reduction. The other thinks it's going to happen in 2033, and it's a 33% reduction. Now, at our firm, we take the bigger amount in 2033. If it happens and we prepared for it, our clients are good. But if it doesn't happen and we prepared for it, it's just that much better off for our clients, right? They've got more money. Now, most advisors don't factor that in, which is doing their clients a great disservice. So make sure if you've got an advisor that they factor that into the income plan, which frankly most don't. So here we have Bob, and Bob is going to turn on his Social Security at full retirement age, which is 67, because he made more money during his life, and therefore it's more beneficial for him to wait until 67 than to turn it on early. His Social Security at 67 will be $3,500. But here you can see that at 68, only about a year later, well, we have a 1/3 reduction. The reason why it went from $3,500 to $2,403 is because, as I mentioned earlier, Social Security is wildly underfunded, and we are headed for a financial cliff in the Social Security Trust Fund. Same thing with Betty. So Betty's going to turn hers on at 62, and it's going to pay her $1,750 a month. And at 67 and 11 months, it switches because this is now January of 2033 when the reduction happens. Her $1,750 goes to $1,359. Now we're factoring in 2.5% cost of living adjustments for Social Security. Cost of living adjustments for Social Security mirrors the CPI number, Consumer Price Index. Well, here's the problem. The CPI number really should be called the CPI number because it doesn't factor in food, energy, mortgage, and rent. And so we believe that the real inflation number is more like 4 because that does factor in food, energy, mortgage, and rent, what we spend our money on. But your Social Security is not going to adjust based upon the real inflation rate. It's only going to adjust based upon the manipulated lower CPI number. So that's why it's a 2.5% cost of living adjustment across the board for Bob and Betty's lifetime. Now, we go over here to assets. Bob and Betty have $25,000 in bank accounts, checking, savings. Bob has $750,000 in a 401k, and Betty has $225,000 in her 401k. This is actually not a Roth. This is a 401k right here. They've got $1 million total. Now we go down here and we can see their real estate is worth $500,000. They do not have any debt, any mortgage. They've paid it off, which is good on Bob and Betty. Very responsible. Now we come down over here and we want to look at rates of return. Now we're only factoring in what? A 3% net rate of return on the 401ks? Stop the madness. That can't be right. Well, let me show you another article. Goldman Sachs is predicting a 3% return for the S&P 500 over the next decade. Why would they say that? Why would all of a sudden the S&P only do a 3% average rate of return? Well, there's many reasons, but frankly, we are not going to enjoy government spending, government deficit spending that stimulates the stock market. We're careening out of control with our spending, and very likely that's going to get reined in. It has to. So the S&P is not going to go up like it once did. And by the way, just so you know, Goldman Sachs, they are one of the largest investment firms in the world. I have a buddy who's an ultra high net worth individual. He has an account with Goldman, and he's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. And his Goldman advisor flew out to Florida, sat down with him, and told him the exact same thing. We're anticipating a 3% rate of return over the next decade for the S&P. Well, we're going to take that number, and if your advisor is pretending that you're going to get 7 or 8% as an average, it may be a little dangerous and a little presumptuous to assume you're going to earn that. So we have 3% rates of return on the 401ks, and then the bank account is not earning a whole lot. Real estate, so their primary residence, real estate's going to earn around 5 because real estate's going to do better than that, especially around Tennessee. The last 5 years we've done between 8 and 12% depending upon your location, but we think a 5% rate of return or appreciation on your real estate is fair. Let's keep going. Well, 97% of Bob and Betty's money is exposed to market volatility. They don't like that because they are not super aggressive, but we'll deal with that in a moment. They've got $1 million in spendable assets, $500,000 in real estate. Their net worth is $1.5 million. Now we come over here to expenses. For time's sake, I just lumped all of the categories into one. All bills are $5,000 per month. Now I want to go back to this article. This is interesting. The average cost of living in Tennessee is $42,469, which is $3,500 a month in Tennessee. That's what it translates to. The average monthly expenses is about $3,500. Well, hey, Bob and Betty, they want to have some fun, baby. They want to do some traveling. He wants to do some fishing. She wants to do sewing or hanging out with the grandkids or whatever. We want to give them a little bit more of a cushion for fun money, travel, gifts or donations, eating out, etc. Which is why their monthly bills are $5,000 a month. Now, look at that inflation rate, 4%. We're factoring in food, energy, mortgage, and rent that the CPI number does not. 4% is very likely what you're going to be anticipating for the rest of your life. Let's keep going. Now we're going to look at the actual retirement plan. This is where everything gets tied together. Check this out. All right, so they're both 60 years old. Now, before she turns her Social Security on at 62, we have no money coming in. This is her net monthly expenses, $5132, and this is the net monthly cash flow, which means it's going to have to come from one of these different sources, like the 401ks. Well, here in 2 years, she turns her Social Security on. Well, that helps. It reduces the deficit every month that she's having to pull from. And then a few years later at 67, when Bob turns 67, he turns his on. But immediately the next year, there's that Social Security reduction. As of right now, you can see this is the net monthly income, the net monthly expenses in this column, the net monthly cash flow here. We have red or deficits, which means we're pulling from these spendable assets, the liquid assets. As of right now, if they change nothing, gosh darn it, Bob and Betty are running out of money at 82 years old. No good. Now, they're not going to be under a bridge, right? Bumming, pennies and quarters from passerbys and, buying McDonald's once a day, and that's what they eat. They've got 1.5 million bucks in equity in their primary residence. So they've got some options. They could refinance, they could sell it, they could do a reverse mortgage, which no one likes. They've got options. They're not going to be under a bridge, but they ran out of cash, and that's not good. So the question is there anything that we can do strategically to make this better? And the answer is yes. So if you'll look up here at the top left, this is their current scenario. Now, what I did is I made a carbon copy using what we call the silo strategy. And again, this is talked about in my book, The Joseph Strategy, which you can get access to. There will be a link below that you can get some of our resources, including the movies that talk about Social Security being reduced. But this is the silo strategy overlay 1. So check this out. The Social Security is exactly the same. We didn't change anything. We go over here to assets. The only thing we changed, Betty's 401k is the exact same. The real estate is the same. The only thing we changed is we took Bob, his 401k, and we moved it into a supercharged increasing income annuity. It's going to begin paying them $3,125 every single month for the rest of both of their lives. But here's the kicker. Every year, it increases at 5% to help offset inflation. What does this do? And by the way, everything else is the same. You can look here. We're still factoring in a 3% rate of return on her 401k. We've got 5% rate of return on real estate, and the annuity is also going to do a 3% rate of return. We're not making anything unique. The only thing that's different is that it has a very powerful 5% cost of living adjustment. Okay, so now all of a sudden in safety, well, 77% of their money's safe. They're feeling a lot better. They're sleeping at night. This is good, right? We go over here to expenses. Everything's the same, $5,000 a month, 4% inflation rate. But here's where it all comes together. Now we look over here at the retirement plan. Now again, I'm gonna go back quickly to the current scenario. As you see here, current scenario, they're running out of money at 82. But with the silo strategy, overlay 1, and just rediverting one bucket of money, now all of a sudden, you can see here, they don't have Social Security turned on at 60, but this increasing income annuity starts paying them $31.25 a month, and then $32.81, and then $34.45, and then $36, $37, $39, $41. It's increasing to help offset inflation. This is your net monthly income minus the taxes withheld. Here's your net monthly expenses that's going up because of inflation. Here in the beginning, we have a little bit of a deficit because we don't have Social Security turned on, and that's where you would draw down from her, Betty's 401k. Well, as you can see, once she turns on her Social Security, so you've got the increasing income annuity and Social Security, not much of a deficit. And then once he turns his Social Security on, all of a sudden, by golly, we are in the green. And you can go down, if they were to live to 100, and they really should because they've got to annoy each other for the next 40 years. If they were to live to 100, oh my goodness gracious, they have almost $500,000 in cash left over, and they have $3.8 million in real estate that they're going to leave behind to their loved ones or charities. They started with $1 million, and they were able to cover all of the bills, all of the fund money, all of the gifts or donations, all of the travel, and they've got millions of dollars left over with very conservative assumptions on rates of return. So all of a sudden, Bob and Betty, with one strategic change, went from running out of money at 82 with their current scenario, if they change nothing, but they came and saw us. They read the reviews online, and they said, let's go talk to Andrew at Retirement Renegade. Let's see if he can help us. And all of a sudden, they're not running out of money at 100, and they've got a ton of money left over. This is how you can retire in Tennessee for half of what you would need to be able to retire in California or Illinois or New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, etc. If you would like to have a custom income plan created for you based upon your personal situation, we don't charge $5,000 for these. It's free, it's a service to our community, and you don't even have to be in Tennessee. So if you'd like a report run for you to see if you could retire early, or if you could make it work in the state that you live in, give us a shout. We've got details below on how you can do so, but it really does provide a tremendous amount of clarity on when can I retire? Am I running out of money at a certain age? Do I have surplus every month? How much am I leaving behind to loved ones or charities? It basically provides complete illumination on what your financial future is going to look like. If you'd like that done for you, give us a shout. We'd be happy to do that for you, free of charge. If you got value out of this video, do us a favor, please like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video.